Hello and welcome to Good Vibrations, the show for seniors by seniors. I'm your host, Diana Dagg. Today on our show we have a spot of music nostalgia followed by an interview about the link between hearing and cognition. Then we'll have a trivia quiz and an update on what's happening in the Inner West in the lead up to Christmas. First up, we bring you another musical nostalgia experience from our resident musical expert, Steve Ferreira. Over to you, Steve.
Yes, hello. This time we're jumping ahead to 1978 with a remarkable band formed in London and releasing their self-titled debut album, Dire Straits, a blend of blues, rock and country, performed with striking guitar chops and understated vocals from leader Mark Knopfler. In a retrospective review for AllMusic, Stephen Thomas Erlewine called the album remarkably accomplished for a debut. He praised Knopfler's spare, tasteful guitar lines and his husky warbling and his inclination towards Dylan-esque imagery, which enhances the smoky, low-key atmosphere of the album. Unquote. Having saved some hard-earned cash, listeners may remember buying the album from Palings, David Jones or Grace Brothers record departments, or for the well-informed from Utopia or Red Eye Records in the city. You'd take the newly purchased LP home with great anticipation. The record would come in its own bespoke plastic or paper carrier bag, with the album itself tightly wrapped in clear plastic. After making a surgical cut to the top lip of the wrapper, one would gingerly insert thumb and forefinger into the opening to fish out the record, itself contained in its own plastic envelope. Carefully handling the vinyl with middle finger on the center circle and the thumb on the vinyl's edge, to avoid fingerprints of the virgin vinyl, of course, you'd position the record on the turntable, place the spindle arm across to the first track, lower the needle, and begin a sonic journey.
Surrender on the quayside. You remember we used to run and hide in the shadow of the cargoes. I take you one time. We're counting all the numbers down to the waterline. When neon misses on the dog-leaf stairway, French kisses in the darkened doorway. Fog horn blowing out a wild and cold. The policeman, he shines a light on my shoulder. Up comes a coaster, fast and silent in the night. Over my shoulder, all you can see are the highlights. No money in our jackets and our jeans are torn. Your hands are cold, but your lips are warm.
The album's first track on side 2 is the iconic single Sultans of Swing, which became a major hit attributable to massive radio airplay. It was well received by critics and sold 6 million copies worldwide. The curious title comes from Knopfler observing a Dixieland band playing in an almost empty South London pub, announcing their name as the Sultans of Swing. Knopfler found the contrast between their drab appearance and surroundings and their grandiose name very amusing. To us listeners, perhaps also prophetic. The track naturally became the springboard for fans buying the album in big numbers.
Shiver in the dark, it's raining in the park, but meantime sound of the river, you stop and you hold everything. A band is blowing Dixie, double fall time. You feel alright when you hear the music ring. Well, now you step inside, but you don't see too many faces. Coming in out of the rain, they hear the jazz go down. Competition in other places, but the horns, they blowing that sound. Way on down south, way on down south, London town. Check out Guitar George, he knows all the chords. Mine is strictly rhythm, he doesn't want to make it cry or sing. If any old guitar is all he can afford, when he gets up under the lights to play his thing. And Harry doesn't mind if he doesn't make the scene. He's got a daytime job, he's doing alright. He can play the honky-tonk like anything, saving it up Friday night with the Sultans, with the Sultans of Swing. And a crowd of young boys, they're fooling around in the corner, drunk and dressed in their best brown baggies in their platform soles. They don't give a damn about any trumpet playing band. It ain't what they call rock and roll. And the Sultans, yeah, the Sultans, they play Creole. Creole. We are the Sultans. We are the Sultans of swing.
Thanks, Steve. Next up, we're exploring the little-known connection between our hearing and cognitive health. Our intrepid reporter Mary Labree caught up with Andrew Campbell of New Audio.
My name's Andrew Campbell. I'm an audiologist. I've been doing this kind of work for 24 years. I specialise in hearing aids, or we like to call them hearing devices, and I'm the founder of an independent audiology organisation called New Audio. We've got clinics in Sydney, Brisbane, the Gold Coast, and in Melbourne.
Many people really think that hearing loss is just the inevitable result of aging, and they think it's just something they should accept. But is it a given?
Well, age-related hearing loss, it is something that will indeed happen to everyone that lives long enough. We call it presbycusis. I guess the good news is about hearing loss is that it is a condition that's highly treatable. So what we tend to be focused on is speech understanding. And if hearing loss is getting to the point where we're missing out on around 24% or more of day-to-day speech, that's the point we start to get concerned about it. And fortunately, in this day and age, we've got some really effective tools in the way of hearing devices, and very recently some very interesting and effective technologies where people can actually train themselves to become better at hearing in challenging environments, background noise group situations.
You spend quite a bit of time thinking about the connection between hearing and cognition. Can you tell us what the research says about that?
So the links between hearing loss and cognitive decline started to emerge in the medical literature from about the 1980s, and there was a particular emphasis on social isolation. So we've known for a long, long time that the more hearing loss that someone has, the more at risk they are at becoming chronically socially isolated. And we know that social isolation does have an effect on broadly on cognitive function. But in terms of the specific links between hearing loss and dementia risk, that started to, what really kind of, I guess, put this topic on the map was a really pivotal study that was published in 2011, when it was kind of for the first time hearing was involved in a major multi-million-dollar study of the aging process. And essentially what they found with a large group of people aged over 60 over a 12-year period was that people that had a mild hearing loss, which is about a 25% hearing loss that we never used to care about, were twice as likely to have developed dementia over a 12-year period compared to people that had normal hearing. And at the other end of the scale, people with a severe hearing loss were found to be 5 times more likely to have developed dementia over that 12-year period compared to peers that had normal hearing. The results came as a surprise. This trend had never really been quantified before, and essentially it sparked a whole lot of research interest into this area. So since 2011, there's been at least 50 good quality studies that have looked at the impact of hearing loss on cognitive decline, but also what can we actually do about it. When we're talking about cognitive abilities, we're talking about things like short-term memory processing speed, reaction times, what we call our general executive functions to tie these capacities together. What hearing loss appears to do is to age these capacities somewhat prematurely.
I've heard of 2 ideas. One, that when your hearing isn't optimal, it almost starves your brain of a certain type of information that it needs to kind of tie the world together. Is that correct?
Yeah. Well, we can think about it as when we thinking broadly, I guess, about the impacts of hearing loss on cognition, there's really, I guess, three main factors at play. One is that I've mentioned already, social isolation, which tends to start with the most common complaint that we hear all day, every day in the hearing clinic, which is difficulty hearing in background noise and group situations. And so as those situations start to become less enjoyable and potentially embarrassing, we know that people tend to start to avoid them, and we know that there's a trend to withdraw and not partake in those activities, which we also know has downstream effects on cognitive function. The second set of factors relates to cognitive overload. So for the most common forms of hearing loss, it's not like people are hearing no words. Most commonly, they're hearing parts of words. So most of my patients, like over 90% of them, are still able to hear all of the A, E, I, O, U vowels, but not all of the softer, higher pitched consonant sounds. The problem is the consonants, they carry most of the meanings of words. So if we're not hearing all of the consonant sounds in order to be able to effectively communicate, we need to get that information from somewhere else, most commonly from our vision, body language, facial expressions, movement on lips. They all give us clues as to what that person's talking about. Hopefully we've got enough information there to put it all together. Problem is that's all quite hard work, as it's particularly taxing on short-term memory. We get this phenomena, it's called cerebral atrophy, the medical terminology for brain shrinkage. So with untreated hearing loss, we can see up to a 40% reduction in the volume or size of parts of the brain associated with speech, hearing, language and memory. So what we tend to advise is that, and what we observe in clinic is that the sooner the hearing loss is addressed, the better people tend to do with treatment.
So, and this sounds like a very good segue to actually talk about what's out there to help people, first of all, diagnose this.
Yeah, sure. So well, first of all, I would just say that age-related hearing loss for most people starts around about the age of 55. Usually we can start to see signs of aging. I mean, there is variation according to genetics and environment, noise exposure and so on, but I just tend to advise that really anyone that's over the age of 55, it's a good idea to have a hearing check, just to have it tested once every 2 years.
Can you just explain what a senior in the Inner West, as an example, what they could do to access testing?
What we have here in Australia is a very corporatized expression of audiology, more so than exists really anywhere in the world. So most of the hearing clinics out there are owned by overseas-based corporate entities, and many of which are hearing aid manufacturers. So I tend to advise really anyone that's looking to either improve upon the hearing situation or even just to get an assessment is to seek out an independent audiologist, because an independent audiologist, particularly if they are looking at treatment, they're going to have access to all of the possible solutions that are out there. And I just tend to find that in terms of adherence to best practice and professional standards, in my experience, independent audiologists, they tend to be the best bet in terms of giving you, impartial advice, and particularly if treatment's warranted, they're going to have access to a whole lot more solutions than, say, a manufacturer-owned clinic who is only got a very narrow range in which they can help people with. Nowadays, we've seen actually, particularly over the past couple of years, there's been quite a lift in how effective these solutions are. We're seeing the incorporation of some artificial intelligence into pretty much all of the devices that we use these days. It makes them pretty much all of the devices nowadays are rechargeable, so you don't need to change batteries and so on. We just get fewer problems and longer life out of them. Mm-hmm. And there is another thing that has happened is interactivity with mobile phones, which has increased a degree of flexibility into the solutions. We've now got access to some really effective auditory training tools that help to gradually strengthen our ability to hear well in increasing levels of background noise. So even people that have good quality hearing devices that have been fitted correctly and that have been worn consistently, often we see our patients are still a bit underwhelmed with how well they work in background noise. Fortunately, now we've got technologies in which people can simply do some training. It's really easy to do, takes about 15 minutes a day. And this program that we've now got access to, it's called LACE, stands for Listening Communication Enhancement. And what they've found is that if you can stick with it for a month or two, on average, people are getting between 30 to 60% improvement in their ability to hear well in background noise in groups, just by simply doing a basic program on their phone for 15 minutes a day.
Oh, fantastic. So that's an app, basically.
Yeah, exactly. So it's an app. It uses artificial intelligence to deliver the training, so it's really easy and straightforward.
Andrew, for our listeners, if they want to know more about this or do something about it or find out more about what you're doing, where can they go?
Yeah, sure. So we have a YouTube channel. It's simply called the Hearing and Brain Health channel. Our website is www.NEU for Unicorn, AUDIOs. We also hold public seminars around every 6 weeks in Sydney, in Sydney CBD, and we do that every 6 weeks. And on our website, people can find out when they're happening and register that way as well.
Well, Andrew, thank you so much. That has been very, very interesting, and I think it'll be of great value to our listeners. So,
brilliant. Thanks, Mary. I hope that was what you're after.
You'll find Andrew's tips and the full interview on our Facebook page, facebook.com/The Good Vibration Show. Up next, get ready to flex your mental muscles. A warm welcome to our Triviality top teamster, Alan Roberts.
Here we are again for another episode of It's Trivial, with me, your host, Trivial, looking to vibrate those brain cells and get your mind active and working. Each week we'll present a little 2-round quiz, a round of general knowledge and a round themed on whatever I've been thinking about during the week. Which brings us to this week's quiz. Once again, 5 general knowledge and 5 on a theme. We'll start with the general knowledge. Question 1. In which Australian city did Haig's chocolates originate? Question 2. Which country is nicknamed the Hermit Kingdom? That's Hermit, Hermit. Question 3. What was Gough Whitlam's christened first name? It's not Gough. Question 4. What are the 4 corner squares on a standard Monopoly board? The Australian version of Monopoly. And question 5, how many players are there on a netball team? Now, not counting reserves, just on the court at any time. Round 2. Round 2 this week. Where were you 50 years ago? I know where I was. I was doing my HSC. And the themed round is called The Year That Was, 1975. Question 1. The dismissal was the major event in Australia at that time. Who was the Governor-General who dismissed the Whitlam government? Question 2. What major advance in TV in Australia was introduced on the 1st of March 1975? Question 3. At the Academy Awards, which film became only the second ever to win all 5 of the major categories? It won Best Film, Best Director, Best Actor, Best Actress, and Best Screenplay. Only the second film ever in the history of the Academy Awards at the time to do that. What was that film? Question 4. On the 16th of September 1975, which country gained independence from Australia? And question 5. The biggest selling album in Australia that year, spending 16 weeks on the top of the album charts, was Living in the 70s by which Australian band? And that's our quiz for this week. Go to the Facebook page. In the next day or two, we'll put up the answers for this week's quiz as well. And that's me, Trivial, signing off for this week. Join us again next week for another quiz to get those good vibrations happening in your brain. Thank you and goodbye.
Now over to our man about town, Craig McMahon, for his regular What's On, filling us in on what's going on in the inner west and where we need to be. What I like is that Craig does the research, and we don't need to. Gives us more time to get out and about. Let's catch up with Craig now.
Hi there, Craig McMahon here, and I'm back providing more details regarding what's on in our area that would interest us seniors over the next couple of weeks. Looking to do some gardening? On Wednesday 24th of December, between the hours of 9am and 12pm, join the Callan Park Bush Care Group and help to restore the landscape above King George Oval. You'll have the benefit of healthy exercise in a beautiful and unique inner West Bayside setting while learning about the native plants of this area and the wildlife that still calls it home. We meet every Wednesday morning. Email callanpark@yahoo.com.au for more details. What about a place to come, connect and be curious? Curious Grace is a drop-in centre that operates on the last Sunday of the month, aiming to bring together people of all ages and stages, beliefs and cultures to relax over coffee and conversation and enjoy a range of hands-on practical and recreational activities. Learn or rediscover creative skills, reconnect with the community and nurture new friendships. Curious Grace is next taking place on Sunday 28th of December between 11am and 1pm at St Brendan's Memorial Hall at 49 Johnson Street, Annandale. Looking for an art exhibition? There are a couple of fascinating and inspiring events that I would recommend you to get along to. Fornali in Leichhardt is proud to present I Am Gergen, a major retrospective of renowned Bundjalung artist Dr. Bronwyn Bancroft, curated by Cora Kim Singh. Spanning over 5 decades of Dr. Bancroft's career, this powerful and visually captivating exhibition open now and will continue until Saturday the 31st of January. I Am Gergen invites audiences to experience the evolution of Dr. Bancroft's visionary career from wearable art on the world stage to awe-inspiring paintings documenting her family's resilience and survival. Gergen translates to Kookaburra in Bundjalung language and is Bronwyn's personal totem. I Am Gergen, a retrospective of work by Dr. Bronwyn Bancroft, is being held at Bumali Aboriginal Artists Cooperative, 55 to 59 Flood Street, Leichhardt, hours 10am to 4pm Tuesday to Friday, and entry is free. Another great art event is the Roman Grigg art exhibition to be held in Glebe. This exhibition consists of paintings by Roman Grigg, a Katoomba local who paints scenes of Katoomba, its streets and its environs. We all remember Katoomba is a popular historic town in the Blue Mountains that has a history as a tourist town from the 1900s. It was a popular honeymoon spot. It had iconic cafes like the Paragon, and in recent times artists, writers, dancers and musicians have moved to Katoomba. In his paintings, Roman has captured the nostalgia of the little churches and nightlives of Katoomba. Exhibition from the 18th to the 24th of December from 11am to 6pm at the Shop Gallery, 112 Glebe Point Road, Glebe. Entry is free. If you are at a loose end over the festive season and you want to learn more about the history of the Inner West, Dark Tales are hosting a walking tour on Friday the 2nd of January from 4pm to 5:30pm. Discover the true crime of history of Annandale and the dark secrets of Jubilee Park and the street with no name on this fascinating walk. We will meet outside the North Annandale Hotel on the corner of Johnson and Booth Street, uncovering its own story before heading down to Booth Street to hear tales of underbelly crimes and dark happenings in Annandale. From there, we'll head down to Nelson Street and into Federal and Jubilee Parks to find out about the many historical true crimes that have besieged the area and stumble upon the iconic Street with No Name, one of Sydney's most mystifying haunted streets. And we'll finish up near the tram sheds. Cost is $20 plus a small booking fee, and to purchase and to learn a little bit more about this, jump on the website of darktales.com.au. That's darktales.com.au. Well, that's all from me for now. To all out there, have a wonderful Christmas and please stay safe.
Thanks, Craig. Before we end today's program, I'd like to acknowledge the deep sadness felt across our community following the Bondi Beach shooting. Our thoughts are with the victims, their families, and all those impacted. Please take care of one another. For today's show, special thanks to Andrew Campbell, audiologist, and reminder that you'll find a link to the full interview on our Facebook page. Thanks to our regulars, Alan Roberts, Steve Ferreira, Mary Lavery and Craig McMahon. And I'm your host, Diana Dagg. A huge thanks to Inner West Council for always supporting our show. And I'm going to share with you details of a recipe that we'll put up on our Facebook page. It's for a frozen Christmas pudding that'll make you look like the best cook in the world. That's facebook.com/The Good Vibration Show. And remember to like, follow and share. It makes it easy for you to find it next time. Please tune in next week at this time. When it comes to good vibrations, remember to take them in and send them out. Until next time.